Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of SHENZHEN I. Let's get started. We have a new assignment here, a precision food scale. David has this idea. He says, are you aware of the system of precise dieting? This trend, which originated right here in China, has people across the globe measuring down to the milligram what they put in their bodies based on the ancient principles of yin and yang. Actually, my fiancée Xiao Mei and I have been trying it for the past month or so ourselves. It really boosts our stamina. I believe a portable food scale aimed at the precise dieting community would do quite well. Simple. We can include a tare function to zero the display when power button is pressed. Carl's quite a character, isn't he? He's questioning this stamina. Alright. Probably not something we want to find out any more about. Okay, what do we have here? We have 2 pages of instructions. Weight is a simple input connected to an electromechanical scale calibrated for grams. Button is an input connected to a power/0 button. Display is an X bus output connected to a numerical display. The scale is off but can be turned on by pressing the button. While the scale is on, the display should be updated with the measured weight. If the display is showing a value other than 0 when the button is pushed, the scale should zero itself so the current displayed weight is 0. If the display is showing a value of 0 when the button is pushed, the scale should turn off and send a value of -999 to clear it. Interesting. Now, something I'm not sure about is when you turn the scale off, do you reset the zeroing? I don't know. There's probably an example, right? Okay, we need to send the output to this guy every turn. He's not going to remember it. Not every turn, every time unit. So here's an example of them pushing the button, and then they never re-zero the display. They just turn it back off. Here they zero the display, and then they zero it again, and then they turn it off. So wait, that's 0? Wait, hang on, maybe I'm wrong. What's going on? Alright, so okay, so here the scale was zeroed at 32. Okay. So when we get an input of 16, yeah, we output a -16. Fine. And then they turn off the scale, and we never find out whether we were supposed to keep the value, whether we were supposed to say 0 to 32 or 0 or reset the 0 to 0. Is there any other set of like inputs or something? I wonder, by the way, if so. On the one hand, I mentioned in the last episode that like the sandwich maker puzzle got all weird. And I thought that was because the game had updated itself. But also, like, when it updated, it lost my configuration settings, and so I poked around in the options, and I found a button labeled, like, Puzzle Archive, and it just had numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And, like, when you push them, nothing seems to happen. And so maybe I just reset the Puzzle Archive somehow, and messed it up myself, and it wasn't the update. I don't know. But if so, it shouldn't let me do that. Come on. Jeez. Come on, game. So I don't know what happened. It might have been my fault, but it was definitely also the game's fault. So there. Alright, what are we doing with this puzzle? So these are simple inputs. So again, this is one where, like, if we were geniuses, we could fit everything in here, right? I don't think we're that genius. I mean, we need just... Do we need just one register? Actually, I think we need 2 registers. Because we need to know if the display is on, and we need to know what the 0 value is if it's on, right? So, oh, interesting. This is not marked as not recommended on this puzzle for some crazy reason. I'm pretty sure it's not something we want to use. I mean, it's a source of 14 registers, like, great, but they're pretty hard to use. So, could we fit everything on this? It's got 2 registers, it's got all the wires we need, it's got some space for code. Maybe. Actually, it seems like we kind of need more than just 2 registers. We need a place to store whether it's on, and a place to store what the 0 value is, and a place to do math, right? So I'm not sure where we can manage to do math is the problem. What if we stored the 0 value in ACK? Is there some way that we could do subtraction, like, properly? Subtract what comes in from here, and then we have, like, negative of the value we need to display, and we can subtract... We could subtract that from 0, but there's no actual good way to subtract what's in ACK from 0. You can only subtract things from ACK. So it seems like we need at least then 1 more chip than this. And what do we do? How does that chip go? What is a piece of functionality we can subtract out somewhat cleanly from this first chip and delegate to the second one? Could it be in charge of handling whether the thing is on or off and the 0 value? And then, like, let this guy handle all the... When we are on, use the 0 value and ACK to decide what to output? Possible. In fact, I guess... Yeah, maybe... Okay, here's a weird idea. What if we had a chip... I don't know how big it's going to have to be, but let's say it's this one. What if we had this guy wired up to both of these, like so... And he was wired up to this... Get out of here. Over X bus. I kind of need to go like this. And this guy... Oh, actually, it's a little bit nicer to build a bridge, I think. I don't know. Obviously, we don't need the bridge, because we could have done this go under, but this way it's more clear what's wired up to what, I guess. And have this guy, whenever we are on, he sends a single XBus message to this guy saying, here is what the 0 value is. We read that, and we read the current weight. And then we write to this thing. Right? So then this guy needs he needs more registers than he's got, right? Because he has to know whether we're on. And he has to know what the 0 value is. But it seems like he can just know those two things and send this guy enough information that he can do his work. And maybe this can be the small chip, and this the large chip. Right? And we'll need the large chip to be wired up to this as well, so he can send an off signal to it when the button is pushed and we turn off. But okay, so maybe that's a bit of a plan here. So we wire up like that and that. Okay. Actually, we might want to scooch over a bit so that there's space to connect up these X bus inputs if we need them. I don't foresee needing them right at this moment, but you never know. And then we need like one of these, perhaps. No, because we want it to be wired up to weight as well, so one of these. Actually, it's kind of quite a lot nicer if they can share the weight input more easily. Something like this, so that we don't have to, oops, don't have to do weird wiring around them, right? Like so. Oops. Like so. And in fact, probably even... I'm trying to figure out how to get this X bus to connect up to it, but maybe I just don't have to worry about that. Get back over here. And we'll wire up like... I can't make up my mind. I guess what we'll do is bridge this over to there. Now we have an X bus channel into it. And it has a simple I/O to the weight. It has an X bus to the output, but we also have an additional X bus to the output to send the -999 kill signal. And we wire up our remaining simple input to here. This is sort of my dream circuit. I don't know if I can write code smart enough to actually make this work, but I don't know. We'll start here. So what's the first thing to do? Well, I'm lost. I have no idea. What do I write? I mean, we need to check the button, right? I'm just not sure if that's the thing we need to do first. Or even exactly how we check the button. Do we compare it to 0, or do we compare it to DAT or something? Or ACK, I guess, would probably be better. I don't know. Where are we storing the tear value? Probably in DAT, since we never need to do any math on it. Or really any kind of interesting operations. We just send DAT over XBus. Okay, maybe it would be simpler to start with this guy. I think this guy's job is very simple. Right, we just sleep X on X0, and then we move X0 into ACK, we sub T0, we move the result to X1, and that's all. That's all this guy is doing. Oh, move, indeed. ACK to X1. So, this is so simple, just these 4 lines of code, that it makes me sort of think like, hey, do we really need this guy for anything? What is he really buying us? And then I remember that what he's buying us is we can't do any, we don't have enough registers. We don't need just the 4 lines of code, we also need his register. Because this guy's got 2 important values in register, and he can't afford to do anything silly like subtracting. So that's why I think we still do need this guy, even though his job is very simple. And, by the way, the fact that he's very simple tells me, like, hey, maybe you're doing something that's not so dumb. Every time you make something really complicated in your I/O controller, you feel like an idiot. So this is good. Our output is a very simple little state machine here. So how about this guy? We have to detect whether we've, like, what are the state? Maybe step back and think about this not just like as a one instruction at a time, but think at a little bit of a higher level. We're kind of building a state machine here, right? A deterministic finite automata, I suppose. So you can imagine, if you like, that it's a flowchart. Like, what are the states this thing can be in, and what transitions are meaningful? It can be in the off state, and the only transition that's meaningful there is transitioning into the on state. It can be in the on state, and then when it gets a button push, it either transitions back into the on state but changes its registers, i.e. by using the tearing, to apply the tearing, or it turns off. So I'm not sure exactly how formalizing that helps me. Okay, well, you know what? Let's test whether the button is pushed. It looks like it's always pushed for only 1 cycle, which, thank God. If they pushed it for 2 cycles, it would be a nightmare. So let's just test whether test equal ACK of 100. This means we're changing states. Right? You know what? I bet it'll be easier to test for 0 first. Gosh, shit. No. So that's the thing. That's why it's kind of nice to test it equal to... Ugh. If I test it equal to ACK, how does that help me? It tells me that we are either off, staying off, or we're on, being either teared or turned off. The interesting thing is that if the input and my accumulator are different, that means we're in the neutral state where we're on and just relaying weights, right? Because either we've just been turned on, or we've been left on. And those 2 states are the same. So I think that's actually a useful thing to test. So let's maybe start there. Test equal ACK of P0, right? And if those are different, we can just do the following, which is to say move... Wait, not ACK. ACK? Sure. I guess ACK is where I'm storing whether the button is on. Move dat to X... How are we wired up to this guy? X0. Right, so those 2 are different. And so we just send that signal, and then we jump to done. That's all we're gonna do. And done is just sleep 1. Okay? Great. Now, we know that our state is being toggled somehow. right? Yes, what exactly is happening here? We're either being turned off or teared, right? We've handled being turned on and staying on with the other test. Oh, so this is actually really easy, right? We're just going to move the weight, which is on P1, into DAT. And then if it is the case that DAT is 0, then we'll be turned off. In which case, move 0 into ACK and move minus 999 into X2. Right? Is that it? Now, by the way, we can do away with the jump in this case as well, I think. Maybe not. It's a little tricky. I think we actually can. If we reorganize our conditions a little bit better. But so, like, is this really it? Am I so clever? Am I a genius? What have I missed? So we test whether ACK is the same as P0. And if not, then either we're being turned on or we're being left on. So we just write DAT, which is our tear, to our XBus partner over here, and then jump to done. If they were different, if they were the same, So it's not the case that we're either being turned off or being teared, because it could be the case that they were both 0, right? So we have to be a little bit more careful. Move P1 into DAT. So we have to do a bit more work and say test equal button, where let's say ACK, I guess, of 0. So if ACK is 0 and the button was 0, we need to not write anything. So let's just say jump done. So I'm sure there's some way to compress that. This stuff, like, we've done 3 conditions here, and we've treated them all as totally independent. We've done jumps, and I'm sure there's some way to combine them and use a bit less power, basically. But I don't know. Let's see what happens. So we test whether ACK is equal to P0. It is, so we skip those instructions. Now we say, is ACK 0? Yeah, it is 0, which means we were off, so we just jump to done. Fine. So that state is handled. Now we say, hey, is ACK equal to P0? Well, no, it's not. The button is on, but we were off. So we move DAT to X0. Right, we send the tearing value over. And DAT hasn't been written to yet because we haven't been teared yet. So, fine. So we're just going to send a 0 over to our friend here. And then this is going to jump to done and go to sleep. So let's see what this guy's up to. He just moves X0, that was the tearing value, into ACK. And subs P0? That's not right. Should be the other way around. Move P0 into ACK and sub X0. Okay. So in this case they're both 0, so it would be right, but later when we actually did some tearing, or even got a weight, it would be wrong. So, hey, we just write a 0 there. Now we're in the mode where we're staying on, so let's make sure we get that correct. Test equal ACK to P0. They are... Wait, we didn't write 100 into ACK somehow. How did that happen? We should have said we were on. Can we just do like this? Move 100 into ACK? It's a little wasteful, but every time we send the value here, we just say we're on again. So in a lot of cases, we could leave that off. We could safely not execute that instruction, but it won't hurt us to do so. Spends little power, of course. Now we send that. Okay, now we test equal ACK to 0, and they are not the same. So we say, yep, we're still on, and here's your tearing value. And yeah, great. So let's skip ahead to like here. And now there's actually a weight coming in of 12. So we step, yeah, okay, we subtract that, and we write out a 12. Fine, very good. So all this stuff is fine. How about here? A new state we haven't messed with yet. Test equal ACK P0. That should be yes, they are different. So we skip this stuff. Test equal ACK to 0. Were we off previously? We were not off previously, so we're either being turned off or teared. So we move P1, that's our weight, into dat 0. And now we say, was it 0? Why, yeah, it was. So we got to turn off, and we got to write a minus 99 to turn off the scale. And it turned off. Great. So now let's look at this case where we actually have some tearing happening. The weight is 32. We test equal ACK to P0. They're the same, and they're not 0. So something interesting is happening. We're being teared, so we move 32 into dat, and we test, is that 0? No, it wasn't. So we're not being turned off, we're being teared, so we don't do this stuff. We still need to send this guy the value, though. He's now not going to send anything on that step, but okay. We can fix that in a second. Let's see if we get the next one right. We sent him a 32, and he compared that with his old 32 and decided to output a 0. Step, step, step. Okay, so this is all right. We just are missing a single output on the turn that on the step that we tear. So I think that just means here we, in this case, need to move dat to x0. And that should be better, right? Okay, here we go. We test the 32, and then we send him the 32 saying, here's your new tear. And he says, there you go, it's a 0. Okay, I think that's good. Oh, what happened here? Oh, right. Wait, right. So, what happened was yuck. Let's restart. Skip up to there and see what happened exactly. What happened was the weight right in... This is so weird. Yeah, the weight right now that's actually coming in is 0. But we've been teared to treat 32 as 0. So this shouldn't be turning off the display. This should be re-tearing it to the actual 0. So I have to adjust a little bit what's happening here to decide whether I'm tearing or turning off is all. And I think that it's actually easier the way that I actually should be doing it than the way that I was. So rather than undiscriminately moving P1 into DAT and then testing it, I should test first. Is DAT equal to P1? That's how I know if the value we're displaying right now is 0. So, and then if it, and then, wait, So if those were equal, then I should turn off. That's easy. But if they're not, and if they're not equal, I should just tear, and that's easy too. But the question is, when I'm turning off, should I re-tear to 0 or to the value that is currently in DAT already? Should I leave that alone? I don't understand the specifications well enough to be sure, so I'm just gonna sort of arbitrarily choose one. I'm gonna choose 0, I guess. No, I'll choose whatever was in weight. Seems easier. Seems maybe a little bit closer to the user's expectations, right? They set the scale to know what 0 is, and they should remember that when they turn it off and on again. Why not? Okay, so if DAT is equal to P1, then we do this, and otherwise, I think we do this, right? So if we're displaying the same weight that we're teared to, if we're receiving the same rate we're teared to, we're displaying a 0. So then this means we'll turn off, move 0 to ACK, that's go into the off state, and send the off signal to the display, and leave DAT the way it is. Otherwise, we move P1 into DAT and re-tear, basically. And then we move DAT to X0, saying go ahead and display a number. So how about now? Alright, that's better. So it looks like they never tear... No, there we go. Huh, okay, well, the arbitrary choice I made seems to have been correct. Interesting. Most people did it with just $5 or $6. Huh. So we have enough wires to do it with just $5, but I don't know that we could really easily fit all the math in, basically. This math seemed to require a third register. Maybe I'm missing something somehow. Oh look, this stuff is all not disabled anymore. What is this? It's an FPGA, really? Huh. What is all this crap? I would love to figure out this. These cost $5. Maybe a lot of people read the specs for this and did it. Alright, well, we're not going to do... Woo! Buttons! Woo! Alright, well, we're not using one of these. Get out of here. Maybe in an upcoming episode we'll find out how the FPGA works. But for now, I think we've done enough with our scale, and let's see what everyone has to say. Splendid work. This truly is the essence of... Ah, shoot. What did that mean? Precise dieting in electronic form, and another great example of the confluence of ancient wisdom and modern technology. I'm excited not only to introduce this product to the world, but also for what was her name? Xiaomeng? Xiaomei. Excited for Xiaomei and I to use it ourselves. I know not everyone here can read characters. This is your girlfriend. Yeah, I know. You told me earlier. I had to scroll back, you jerk. What is this? I don't ever hear of the PGA. Hey, look at that. A pushy stylebender nearly stuffed these in my pockets as I was walking through Huacheng Bay last night. No idea what he was saying. Have some NAF undocumented chips, I suppose. Well, I guess we have a bunch of them now. If anyone can figure out how to make use of it. Interesting. So we're going to be required to sort of figure it out ourselves and not read it in the specs. Okay. That explains why I didn't notice it in the specs when I started browsing them a while ago. Anyway, that's something we have to look forward to in the next episode, I guess. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.